Hircine is the Daedric Prince who encompasses the hunt, the Sport of Daedra, the great game, the chase, and is also known as the Huntsman, the father of man-beasts, and known as the Hungry Cat to the Khajiit. Hircine is responsible for the existence of the many Therianthropic diseases that exist on Tamriel. These diseases infect mortals, and transform them into various animalistic beasts, such as werewolves, werebears, and werewars, to name a few. Many who are Therianthropes often worship Hircine, and when these beings die, their souls travel to Hircine's realm and compete in what seems to be a never-ending hunt. Hircine, out of the Daedric Princes, was actually discovered to exist much later than that of the other Daedric Princes. Hircine's name does not present itself in many ancient documents that mention the Daedric Princes, and to those who did know about him, conjuring Hircine or communing with him was a rare event to be had. Some Tamrielic scholars, because of the little evidence of Hircine that existed in the early years of Nirn, believe that it means he was not originally a Daedric Prince, and somehow achieved princehood similarly to how Malakath may have. However, these scholars are often disproven because of the existence of were-creatures and the lycanthropic disease existing even in the early Merethic era, since Hircine is in fact the supposed creator of werewolves and the disease. Hircine also takes form in the mortal plane once every 1,000 years, but only to enjoy a great hunt known as the Blood Moon Prophecy. The Totem of Claw and Fang is an immense artifact that is incredibly sacred to the Skull. This totem is used in religious rituals to call upon the magic of nature itself. Something known as a spirit bear can be summoned. The Skull track and kill the spirit bear as to please their god known as the Allmaker. This ceremonial hunt is known as the Restag. Hrokibek, the bear aspect of Hircine, is told to be a counterpart in this hunt. At some point, the totem was stolen from the Skull. The Skull, however, made no action to recover this artifact, as they believed it wasn't necessary. Eventually, this artifact made its way into the tombs of Skull Lara on Solstheim's northeastern shores. Even though the Skull believed they did not require the artifact once more, they did in the Third Era 427, when the Blood Moon Prophecy began to occur. They had traveled to retrieve it from the tomb, but Hircine, aware of their plan, sent some of his hounds to guard the tomb. However, they were unsuccessful, and the Skull successfully retrieved this artifact and had commenced the Restag. The Blood Moon Prophecy is a legend deriving from Skull folklore, the native Nords who inhabit the island of Solstheim. This prophecy warns of the hunt of Hircine, the catastrophic and dangerous event that occurs when Hircine manifests on Nirn and releases his hunting hounds upon the world. Before the hunt occurs, 4 omens occur in forewarning to the hunt. The first of these is the coming of the hounds, when werewolves appear on Solstheim. The second is known as the Fire from the Eye of Glass, which is a large pillar of fire that takes form on the frozen Lake Fjölding. The third of these omens is known as the Tide of Woe, in which hundreds of Horkers are slaughtered, and the bodies appear on the northern coast of Solstheim. The fourth and final omen is exactly why the prophecy is called the Blood Moon Prophecy, in which Secunda's color shifts to a crimson blood red. After these 4 omens, something known as the Hunter's Game occurs, and is different from each era. This game typically involves the hunting of an entire tribe or one individual. After this hunt finishes, Hircine once again returns to his plane of oblivion for another era. The most recent of these Blood Moon prophecies that took place was in the Third Era 427 within the Mortrog Glacier. Hircine is an especially worshipped Daedric Prince, and a more accepted Daedric Prince, because Hircine isn't directly seen as evil, such as one of the more evil Daedric Princes such as Molag Bal. Hircine values the concepts of chance, equality, and fairness. Even though all or most Daedra are disliked by most societies in Tamriel, Hircine, along with a few other Daedric princes who aren't overtly evil, are commonly worshipped by large groups of people and cults. Hircine is usually worshipped by hunters, fishers, poachers, werewolves, and other Therianthropes, many Bosmeri tribes, as well as many forsworn of their reach. Hircine is seen to show respect to those who outsmart him, or if they overcome an incredibly difficult obstacle, especially in his plane of oblivion. This is a quality that not many of his fellow Daedric princes possess, making him a not as shunned or feared Daedric prince as compared to many of the other Daedric princes. The Daedric princes are typically seen as evil and unruly, due to their sometimes destructive and unpredictable nature, as well as many cataclysmic events that have cursed Nirn throughout history, are typically responsible because of the Daedra. Mortals typically fear and shun Daedra worship because of this, and for good reason. However, this does not apply to all Daedra, and some Daedra are even seen as serene or peaceful, and wish no harm to their mortal subjects. Hircine often falls into this category of Daedric princes, as he never fails to give his prey a chance of escape or survival, as to not make the great hunt, as it is known, unfair. He isn't exactly a glamorous prince or seen as caring or kind to his mortal subjects, but understands the judgment of fairness and rules. Within his plane of oblivion, those who win his game of the hunt are typically congratulated and rewarded with becoming a hunter themselves, although this is a rare and difficult feat to make. Although Hircine does carry out with that promise. Hircine typically takes a neutral stance to most individuals and situations, unless they are his prey. Hircine is usually depicted as a man-beast of sorts, holding the spear of bitter mercy, and the skull of a deer or other animal mounted upon his head. Hircine's day of summoning is on the 5th of mid-year. One group who are worshippers of Hircine are the Glenmorrow Word Witch Coven of Hyrok. This coven is told to be able to summon Hircine, and cure lycanthropy as well. The infected, along with the witches, must perform a Daedric ritual known as the Rite of the Wolf-Giver. This dark and complex ritual includes a sacrifice, dark magic practices, and also requires specific alchemical ingredients, such as petals from a wolfsbane flower, and ripe belladonna berries. These ingredients are used to craft a potion that is used in this ritual of curing lycanthropy. One book that particularly mentions Hircine is in the 16 Accords of Madness, Volume 6 specifically. In the tale, Hircine curses a Daedroth with lycanthropy. This creature had become Hircine's most fearsome hunter. However, the beast was fooled into its own demise, and Hircine cursed the unholy grounds upon which this has taken place. Every era, Hircine hosts the Great Hunt in his plane of oblivion. The hunters stalk, chase, and hunt down various prey in the realm. The Great Hunts typically follow the same rules, but the specifics to the hunt is different every era. There are 5 known aspects of Hircine. Alrebeg the Hunter, who possesses the power of the Spear of Bitter Mercy. When this aspect manifests, it roams Nirn, searching for prey for his realm, or delivers prey from his realm to Nirn. Urikenbeg, the Great Dark Stag. This aspect possesses hooves that which drum the blood summons. He materializes in Nirn to mate, and transform women into a mate befitting his aspect. The beating of his hooves are told to lure individuals to the hunting grounds, where they will become prey for the hunt. Some particularly powerful individuals have managed to use Urikenbeg as a mount of some sort. Storebeg, the Skin Changer, is a wolf aspect of Hircine who delivers skin shifters to prowl on Nirn. The howl of this beast is told to be able to freeze your very insides. Gullabeg, the Quick Fox, enjoys confusing and tricking mortals, but rewards those who see past his tricks, and he rewards them with teaching them his tricks. Hirokibeg is a fearsome bear aspect who personifies pure strength and the Totem of Claw and Fang. It manifests to pursue solitude, rest, and the renewal of the burning spirit within. Those who worship Hircine typically engrave and style their weapons to honor each of these aspects. Hircine has 3 known Daedric artifacts of his: the Ring of Hircine, the Savior's Hide, and the Spear of Bitter Mercy. The Ring of Hircine, or known as Hircine's Ring, or simply the Hircine Ring, was a powerful ring that was created by Hircine himself. This ring typically manifests as a metallic engraved ring, with the head of a wolf on the top of it. This ring has not only manifested as a ring, but is also manifested as a spiked leather buckler. Those who wear this ring can transform into a werewolf, even though they aren't directly infected by lycanthropy. Lycanthropes who wear the ring allows them to control when and where they transform, being completely unaffected by the phase of the moons or bloodlust, and can change their form whenever they please. For those who obtain the ring in such a way that is not legitimate, Hircine punishes them and forgoes the power that is exhibited on the ring, making the transformations quite random and unpredictable. For those who are not were-creatures of some kind, this ring appears quite useless and purely cosmetic. However, one purpose the ring is known to exhibit is extending one's life or transformation into a werewolf. Although most who use this ring are werewolves, it can be assumed that other Therianthropes are able to use it for the same purpose. The condition and disease of lycanthropy is dangerous and unpredictable to those affected by it. Hircine's ring suppresses hunger and this condition, and makes it become controllable and easing to those who live with lycanthropy. Before the warp in the west, this ring had revealed itself in the Iliac Bay region. During the Blood Moon prophecy that occurred in the Third Era 427 on Solstheim, the enchantment on this ring had changed. The ring still allows any infected lycanthropes to change at will, but no longer gets rid of the bloodlust and hunger that comes with lycanthropy as well. The hero of Daggerfall is known to have contacted Hircine through use of the Glenmerle Witches, and was gifted Hircine's ring after slaying a rogue wereboar. The last Dragonborn had encountered a Nord werewolf named Sinding. Sinding had stolen the ring of Hircine in order to take control of his transformations. Except this plan of his had backfired terribly, as Hircine cursed the artifact, making Sinding transform randomly and out of his control. Sinding ended up murdering a child, and had ended up in jail because of this. The last Dragonborn, at the request of Sinding, took the ring and was told to hunt down the White Stag, who was an aspect of Hircine. Hircine, angered with Sinding, requested in turn for the Dragonborn to hunt down Sinding and tear his werewolf hide from his corpse. The last Dragonborn had found Sinding, and it is unknown whether the Dragonborn decided to kill Sinding and take the hide along with Hircine's favor, or kill the other hunters who were after Sinding and the ring. Either way, Hircine was pleased with the last Dragonborn's choice, and was gifted his artifacts. The Savior's Hide, or also known as Scourge of the Oathbreaker, is an artifact of Hircine's that also has a shared history with Malakath. Typically, the Savior's Hide is considered to be the cuirass, but once a full set of armor had existed at some point in time, including boots, the cuirass, gauntlets, greaves, the helmet, and pauldrons. Although since the 399th year of the Third Era, the rest of the set, excluding the cuirass, have not been seen. The cuirass alone grants the bearer magic resistance. Like many Daedric artifacts in nature, the Savior's Hide often teleports and travels from adventurer to adventurer, as if it has a mind of its own. The Savior's Hide has 3 versions of a story in which it was created. 2 of these stories credit Hircine, while the third one credits Malakath. The best known tale is that Hircine had created the hide as a gift to the first and only mortal, who was able to successfully escape his hunting grounds. This mortal, with this gifted hide, had it made and tailored into a cuirass for easy wielding on their adventures. This story also mentions the magic resistance that the hide was blessed with. The other version of this tale states that it was Hircine himself who tailored the cuirass from the hide of a werewolf. The third tale that credits Malakath as its creator, unfortunately, is riddled with inaccuracies and contradictions. The biggest known contradiction in this tale is that the hide is told to grant the user a weakness to magic, rather than a resistance to it, along with the tale stating that the hide cannot be penetrated by the blow of someone who can be considered an oathbreaker. Although this tale contradicts and differs from the tales crediting Hircine, one thing these tales have in common is that the Savior's Hide cannot be penetrated by the Spear of Bitter Mercy. The Savior's Hide has come up multiple times in history along with its creation myths. During the crisis at the Battle Spire, the Savior's Hide was required to even wield the Spear of Bitter Mercy. Another time in history was in Tel Fir, the house of Divaith himself. Divaith was an ancient wizard of House Telvanni, and was an avid collector of all things Daedric. Divaith would tempt thieves into robbing Corpusarium of these artifacts. This artifact also appeared during the Oblivion Crisis, when the hero of Kvatch was rewarded for slaying a unicorn for Hircine. The Spear of Bitter Mercy is a Daedric artifact of Hircine, although it is an incredibly mysterious and unknown artifact to the mortals of Tamriel. Very little is truly known about the spear, but what is known is that it is wielded by Hircine. The Forsworn Reachman mythology states that Hircine wields the spear when he takes the aspect of Alrebeg the Hunter. Other tales outside of Reachman mythos tell the tale of a Nord named Thane Icehammer. Icehammer had unknowingly murdered a multitude of werebeasts while out on a typical hunt. Hircine was infuriated by this, and had pierced Thane Icehammer in his side with the Spear of Bitter Mercy. The tip of the spear had broken off inside of Icehammer's body, and had infected him with pure and ceaseless anger that progressed and worsened over time. In the end, Thane had slaughtered an innocent acolyte of Kyne, and had fled to an ancient burial ground adjacent to Cragwallow, and was sealed within as a suitable punishment. The Neverend had also received the Spear of Bitter Mercy as a reward for killing a giant bullnetch, only using an artifact of Sheogorath known as the Fork of Horribilation. However, the Spear of Bitter Mercy was rewarded from Sheogorath instead of Hircine, as one would expect after carrying out this endeavor. Another artifact that is wielded by Hircine is a similar spear known as the Spear of the Hunter, except even less is known about this spear, and is one of the most mysterious and unknown artifacts on Nirn. One thing that is known about this artifact is that it was possibly granted to the Neverend upon completion in Hircine's Great Hunt. The hunt had taken place on Solstheim in the Third Era 427. The hunt consisted of Solstheim's 4 champions at the time, taking place as the prey, or rather the hares, of the hunt. Karstog the Frost Giant, Captain Foxcarius of Fort Frostmoth, and Tharstan Heartfang, who was the leader of the Skull and was the bearer of the Ring of Hircine. The Neverend had taken part in the hunt, but it is unknown if the Neverend played the role of hound or mortal. The hares in the equation had traveled a large maze that was filled with werewolves in order to reach the hunter. The Neverend had successfully made it through this maze, but to gain that success, they had to battle an aspect of Hircine, either strength, speed, or guile. With the Neverend's success in this endeavor, it had caused the glacier to break apart, and thus ended the hunt of Hircine. An artifact of Clavicus Vile's, known as the Rueful Axe, also holds a small connection to Hircine as well. Clavicus Vile gifted the axe to a father of a Hircine worshipper who wished to cure his daughter. Clavicus Vile's idea of curing her was the gifting of this axe so he could then murder his own daughter. During the time of Alduin's return in the 201st year of the 4th Era, the companions were revealed to be werewolves. A deal was made with the Glenmorrow Witch Coven, in which Hircine claimed their souls instead of their souls going to Sovngarde. The last Dragonborn had successfully killed the Glenmorrow Witches, and with one of their heads, they were able to cure Codlac Whitemane of his lycanthropy, as he wished for his soul to depart to Sovngarde instead of the Hunting Grounds. The Hunting Grounds is Hircine's plane of oblivion, created and ruled over by him himself. Many creatures inhabit this plane, such as were-creatures notably, along with many different prey such as cattle and unicorns. It is also known that the creatures who live here are generally much larger than their Tamrielic counterparts. The souls of animals who have been hunted typically manifest in this realm, and also act as prey in the Great Hunt. Mortals who are trapped within the Hunting Grounds are usually doomed to perish within it, as it is near impossible to escape, although not completely unheard of or impossible. But those who do perish within the realm are doomed to remain as spirits in his realm even after death. Lycanthropes, after their death, are sent to Hircine's plain, in which they spend eternity in the thrill of the hunt. During daylight in Hircine's realm, were-creatures and hunters alike travel the realm, tracking their prey. Although when night falls, it is when much of the thrill of the hunt occurs, and Hircine himself joins in on the endless hunt. One section of the hunting grounds, known as the March of Sacrifices, was created to resemble a marshland similarly found on Tamriel. It has 3 subsections: the Bloodscent Pass, the Wispwood, and the Nightlands, and each of these sections represent different times of day. Upon traveling through this section of the realm, it can change from dawn, dusk, and night. The flora can change in luminosity with a radiant orange to a bright blue to signify the time of day. Lurchers, Wismothers, and Indrics commonly inhabit this section of the plain, and much of the fauna can be spectral, hostile, or docile in nature. The Great Hunt that which occurs in Hircine's realm goes by many names, most commonly known as the Great Hunt, but also has held the names of the Wild Hunt, the Hunter's Game, and the Ritual of the Innocent Quarry. This large-scale hunt consists of the hunters and the hare. These hunters and the hare are chosen by Hircine himself. Each of the hunters compete to be granted a powerful boon gifted by Hircine himself. The Great Hunt can be incredibly complex and grandiose, or even a small gathering and selection of elite hunters as chosen personally by Hircine. The location of the hunt varies as well, and over the eras has taken place in different regions of Hircine's realm. It is told that the next location is often determined by the dissection of the stomach of a fresh wolf corpse. Around the time of the Plain Meld, a great hunt was commenced within the March of Sacrifices region of the hunting grounds. Multiple packs and hunters came together to compete in a grand-scale hunt to earn Hircine's gift. One of these skilled hunters was the werewolf lord of Vicosa and their Moon Hunter pack, and a rival group of hunters, the Werebear group, Word Sisters, and a tribe of Bosmer from Valenwood. These groups were tasked with hunting the hare and ripping out its heart. In this hunt, the hare manifested as a powerful Indric known as Tarsier. A group of Undaunted had helped Hanu, a Dunmer within the Zainab tribe of Ashlanders, to compete in the hunt in order to receive Hircine's power. Hanu did not do this for the thrill of the hunt, but because her father was infected with lycanthropy, and he later died. The hunt commenced, and the Undaunted were successful in their kill of the hare, and retrieved its heart. Hircine had given the chance to a rival team of hunters that was led by an orc named Balorg to receive his boon instead if they were to retrieve the heart from the Undaunted. Balorg had murdered Hanu, and her spirit remained in the realm because of this. Balorg had faced it off against the Undaunted in his werewolf behemoth form. However, the Undaunted successfully won this battle against Balorg and had gained Hircine's boon. Hanu was given the choice to free her father from the hunting grounds or herself, although it is unknown which option she had ultimately chose. During the Imperial Simulacrum, Mehrunes Dagon's forces had infiltrated the Battlespire and had invaded a small Daedric plain known as the Chimera of Desolation. During this time as well, the Great Hunt was also taking place in this small Daedric plain. The hero of the Battlespire had entered this realm and had become the hare in the hunt. With the use of the Savior's Hide and the Spear of Bitter Mercy, the hero was successfully able to escape. In Skull folklore, Hircine can also bring the Great Hunt to Nirn itself, that which is known as the Blood Moon Prophecy. During the events of the Umbriel Crisis that had caused great destruction to Blackmarsh and southern territories of Morrowind, Prince Atropos Mead and Sul needed a quick and easy way to travel to Morrowind to halt its destruction. Sul had devised a portal that would send them through Oblivion to Morrowind, and was the quickest way of travel method. Once they arrived in Oblivion, they spawned in Hircine's plain, in which Hircine and his beast chased and hunted these intruders into his realm. They were chased by a werebear, who had also taken the form of a tall Nordic-looking man with blue tattoos and powerful arms. Luckily, Prince Atropos and Sul had made it out with the help of their Khajiit friends, but at the sacrifice of their lives. Hircine's hunting grounds is described as a large dark forest, scattered with plains and ravines, and ample with prey and herds of cattle and other creatures ripe for the pickings of the beasts who roam within the realm to hunt. It is told that if the horn of Hircine is heard, that is when Hircine himself arrives along with his packs of were creatures.